Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. Unbeknownst to the audience, it's been a long time since we... Well, maybe they do know because they didn't hear anything last week.
Yeah, I do have to apologize, everyone. It is my fault that we didn't get a podcast out last week. I couldn't get my schedule right. Jake is not at all to blame, so stop sending him hate mail. It's really starting to hurt his feelings because it's all my fault. If you want to send hate mail to someone, send it to me. I will happily not read it. Jake, on the other hand, has to read it. It's a compulsion. He has to read the hate mail he gets. But I do apologize to everyone and to my stalwart co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jake McGloth. I want to say sorry for my failure to appear.
That's good, because I now have to pitch a show that I wrote at least, I don't know, like 3 weeks ago at this point, so we'll see how well my memory is. Now, I really want to know is, do you remember the title that you gave me? Because now it's been a really long time since that.
What was the title actually.
Charlie?
The Yesterday Boys.
And what was your idea for the Yesterday Boys?
My idea for the Yesterday Boys was kind of like the Magic Treehouse meets the Hardy Boys situation, where you get these two like young kids who are like fancy themselves like a detective duo, right? And instead of like solving mundane mysteries around their small town or whatever, they instead like go through time and they solve mysteries through time, like great historical mysteries, like what happened to the Ark of the Covenant, or I don't know any other history. You're the history guy, so I figured maybe you would
something like that. Very similar.
Yeah.
Not quite just mysteries overall. My description for this is time traveling true detective.
Ooh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
And now also the name, the Yesterday Boys, I was kind of in between changing it possibly to Yesterday's Boys, as in like apostrophe S, Yesterday's Boys.
Yeah.
But I really could. It doesn't like affect the name of the show too much, you know? Like
doesn't. Okay.
I just thought Yesterday's Boys was cool as well. Anyway, now this Charlie is not just a normal original idea. This is, well, it's not really a sequel. It's part of the same universe. Now I've done a show called The Traveler, and I've done a show called Transtemporal Times, and I've done a show called That Was the Man That Is. I believe that was the title.
Yes.
Those are all part of the same universe of like this time-traveling people that live at the end of the universe and are like compiling knowledge from around of throughout time's existence for some purpose.
And we could fit in a few other shows into that sort of thing, because I did a show called Entropy: The Death of All Things, which is also set at the end of the universe.
That could possibly fit, but
we need a fan,
because there's reasons to the things I have in that universe, and I can't. It's apart. So yeah. It's strictly those three shows as of now.
Okay.
Well, now it's this full show as well. So Yesterday's Boys, we have time-traveling detectives who go back in time to solve old, famous cold cases. Our protagonist is Vincent Shadow, a Sherlock Holmes type, very smart, eccentric people person, very ignorant to history, doesn't care at all about history. He's very hunch-based and humorous. He's kind of like, if you watch Star Wars The Clone Wars, the TV show, the animated TV show, he's like Anakin Skywalker. And if he's Anakin Skywalker, that means the next guy has to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is Emmanuel Wakes, or Manny for short.
Ooh, I like that name, Emmanuel Wakes, because it's kind of a sentence also.
Emmanuel Wakes. Now, Manny Wakes, Emmanuel Wakes, he likes to go by Wakes, but Vincent Shadow, his partner, just calls him Manny. So Manny is his nickname, but only one person calls him Manny, and that is Vincent.
Yeah.
But he goes by Wakes. So he is the historian of the group. He's a very insulated, erudite man, very clumsy, but he's not clumsy in like a a normal scenario sense, not clumsy in the fight. He's very strict and regimented when it comes to any sort of that.
He could
scenario.
do kung fu.
But if he's like bumbling around in an apartment or something, it's gonna be a little messy. But he can drive well, he can shoot well, he's very strict on a detective scene. Like, he's not like dropping evidence and stuff like that.
Yeah. But if he's got a cup of coffee, like, he'll spill it on himself and he'll have like a coffee stain on his shirt for the rest of the episode or something like that,
Yeah.
Is that how I'm thinking about it?
It's like when he gets into focus, he's tight, no mistakes. But if he's just living his life, there's, a little loosey-goosey.
Yeah. Then
we have Commissioner Bortles. Commissioner Bortles is played by Judi Dench. It's the only one I casted. I don't know why I casted Judi Dench. Very, very like. Well, actually, I do know why I cast Judi Dench, because she played M in James Bond. Because this character is very much like an M in James Bond type, or a Amanda Walters type. Very sort of angry, calculating, emotionless person. She's the one who gives them the missions. We don't really hear from her, except for like there's not really gonna be any scenes with her. It's gonna be like, either radio messages, or like we'll see her name a lot on, like, they'll get like little letters that say what their case is and stuff like that. And our last character is May, M-E-I. May is a trainee. It's very like, she's just sort of getting into the agency. Very sarcastic, joking, very, but can be very serious in like an intense situation. Also very good reader and historian type person, but she's not nearly anywhere close to Wakes is. Wakes knows like everything, and May just sort of has like an interest in it and likes to learn more about things. But she's good at reading people like Vincent, so she's kind of like a watered down version of both of them. She's much younger than them. They're probably like in their like mid 30s, and she's like mid to early 20s. Now, and she's their trainee. So Vincent and Wakes are partners, and she's like the additional trainee. We'll get into it, but the trainee is normally locked onto one person. Like, one person is their mentor.
Okay. Like this podcast,
yes.
where I'm your mentor.
Really? What exactly are you teaching me in this podcast? How to edit? How to make a thumbnail? How to be a cool, chill, relaxed guy. How to be a cool dude. Oh, I see. Okay, it's about the talking skills, not the concrete skills that actually make the podcast happen.
Not actual skills. I mean, talking out of your ass like a moron.
Okay, that's good. I have a lot of ideas for the possible cases that they're going to work on, but I will get into the pilot first. So the pilot opens with a portal opening in front of an Ohio diner late at night. May walks out of the portal in a TDA hat. TDA stands for... TDA stands for Temporal Detective Agency. So, in front of a Ohio diner, May walks out of a portal with a TDA hat in it, a Temporal Detective Agency hat on. She's got a big binder in her hand and sort of timidly walks into the diner. There's only 2 people in the entire diner. No staff, no one. There's only one light on, and it's above a single booth where 2 guys are arguing with cups of coffee. And those 2 guys are Vincent and Manny, who are arguing very loudly about sandwiches. Vincent says they must always be hot, while Manny is indifferent. So Vincent's like, you can't, like, what's the point of a cold sandwich? Why would I eat a cold sandwich? It needs to be hot. I mean, if I'm getting roast beef or whatever, it needs to be a hot sandwich. I don't want my food to be cold. Manny's like, it does. There's cold cuts. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's tons of cold sandwiches.
They're bad. All of them are bad. I am 100% on Vincent's side right now.
I'm not surprised. May sort of lightly interrupts, and Vincent keeps trying to argue, but Manny sort of shuts him off and apologizes and introduces themselves as Detective Shadow and Wakes. Shadow very quickly just tells her to call him Vincent. And May explains that she is their new mentee/student. And they're both very surprised because the commissioner did not tell them anything about this. Detective Shadow congratulates Manny for getting another pupil and jokes about that hopefully she'll turn out better than he did. So we get the implication here that Vincent learned from Manny, obviously. So they go outside and smoke as Manny explains what they do, and Vincent laughs about how no one told May what she even signed up for in the first place. So May seemingly has no idea what they do in this agency and what their job is, which is slightly concerning because she's just been put straight into the action. And he explains that they solve old unsolved murders all throughout time. And so Maddie hands May the case file, and she starts reading through it. But before she can really even get through like the first three sentences, Vincent grabs it, holds it under a lighter, and tosses it into a trash can, telling her to ignore the history and just focus on her gut. Detective Wakes is annoyed, but he's memorized the case file, so it doesn't really matter. And he starts giving the gist of the torso killer. So the torso killer, this is a real killer in history, who essentially just like left the torsos of people. That's all the evidence that was left behind, just their torso.
Wow, that's a real thing. That's fucking gross and weird.
Torso killer. So they reach the crime scene where they meet Detective Elliot Ness. This is the real detective that was working this case. And they learn that the torso killer struck again. They go over the evidence, and May finds an old light jacket with a torn-out liner. It's ripped and slightly burnt, but it's kind of weird because it looks like it's still got its color to it. It's not really, like, worn. It's like the liner is worn, and there's burns and rips, but it looks fairly new. Wakes sketches it, and while Vincent takes a sniff, so we get very different approaches here. Wakes very, cataloging the evidence, while Vincent just is sniffing the jacket. And when Vincent takes a sniff, he frowns. So they check out the body, which is just a torso, as I explained. There's no real evidence around besides the jacket and the obvious massive torso. It's just sitting there. So there's precise cuts on the torso. They're all very, like, linear, very straight cuts, which May indicates has to be some sort of professional equipment, and Vincent says, like, it's at this time period, it's probably, or Wakes indicates that it's probably butcher. So they go to several butcher shops. First one they go to is like a very nice place with a very kind owner who knows Ness, who's Detective Ness, who's the the current day detective in this group, and shows them how to cut beef with his stuff, and sort of gives them an insight into like how the cutting could work. But it's it's not this guy, because this is like this is the nice shop.
This is the nice one.
But they're getting the idea of what kind of equipment is needed. So now they go to like a midtown place where they're kicked out almost immediately, and they don't really get anywhere with it. And they end up finally at an abandoned factory where they find more torsos. This abandoned factory is like an old butchery shop where they had like tons of these machines, and there's even more torsos here, just tons of them, just a whole room littered with torsos. So very, very
human torsos.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
Nothing good here. So they discover more evidence of these, of damaged clothes here as well, with the tags still on, and lots of signs of like homeless people living in the area. So like burned out trash cans, like refuse, like people's stuff in the all around the place. And as they're investigating this crime, Ness is coming under increasingly more pressure from the mayor to find the killer. So he's getting even more pressed about, like, we need to find this guy. You all got to help me. And there's like a veneer to this where it seems like Wakes and Detective Shadow and May are supposedly from like the federal government. Like they've got like the sort of like the Men in Black badges that just sort of like show that whatever you want to see. You know what I mean? Like, it shows them that they're from the FBI. That's what this is. And they're like,
like Doctor Who with the paper.
Yeah, Doctor Who.
Just like,
maybe it's not Men in Black that has that. It's Doctor Who.
I was like, it wipes memories. No, it's the psychic
like
paper
something that you can show them
that
shows whatever identification that person needs to see to think they're legit. Is what they have. So there's more pressure, and Ness catches the lead. Where they go to this old, like, homeless encampment on the edge of town, where Ness, breaks into the camp and finds a guy covered in blood, and there's torsos in the camp, and they arrest this dude. His name's Frank Dolezal, and he confesses. So after like a very lengthy, pressuring
interrogation process,
he finally cracks and confesses everything, and seemingly, it's all tucked away until so it's it seems like it's all tucked away, and Vincent and Wakes tell May to write up the report of everything that happened. And so May's comparing all their notes that she has with Frank's statement, and she notices that there's a couple inaccuracies in his confession. Like, he doesn't explain, there's nothing about the clothes. It doesn't fully explain how he got the right butcher's equipment, because she's looking at the butcher's equipment that was at that old abandoned factory they went to, and none of it cuts in the right way. It's all too old and worn stuff. And there's no way that it would have gotten so worn so quickly, and it wouldn't have made the precise cuts that you need to have to cut these,
known for,
to cut the torsos the way they were cut. So she starts following the trail backwards until she ends up back at the nice butcher shop, which is the only one that makes sense to her, because it's the only one that had the equipment to make those precision cuts. And she breaks in there and finds, there's tons of blood and body parts everywhere, but it could be animals. And she tests the blood, and she starts looking, going through like the rubble of the body parts. And as she flips over more animal parts, it reveals human body parts underneath.
Yeah, heads and fucking
and
arms
as she's
and
like,
shit.
Yeah, like she'll see like a toenail, and then she'll keep pushing, and then she'll see like an arm, and then a head, and it'll get progressively worse as she pokes through. And when she sees like the head, that's when a door will slam behind her, and she'll turn and she'll see Detective Ness. It was him all along, behind all of it.
Oh my god!
He was just trying to build up his career. And so she gets into an epic fight with Ness, which ultimately leads to her getting the arrest. And as she finally cuffs him and brings him outside, Wakes and Shadow are just sitting in the parking lot, like drinking coffee, arguing about the sandwiches again. And she's like, what are you guys doing here? Where were you? Why didn't you come in and help me? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, it's just part of, we knew the whole time that it was him, but, we had to.
Of course.
It was part of the test.
We had the historical records.
To test you, to see how you were doing. If anything was going to go wrong, we were going to step in. Vincent is not saying this. He's like, nah, we just had to throw you into the fire. And Wakes is like, no, I was monitoring you the whole time. If anything bad was going to happen, I was ready to step in. We were going to take him out. We just wanted you to be able to figure out the mystery for yourself. So for Wakes, this was very much like a supervised training exercise. Vincent's like, throw her in the fire. That's what this was. Yeah. So.
I don't care.
And so Wakes is complimenting her on how she did, and Vincent's just smoking a cigarette, not really caring. And now throughout the episode, it's going to be kind of clear that she doesn't really know which one is Vincent and which one is Emmanuel Wakes. She's going to keep getting them mixed up, and they're not going to really correct her until the end here, where she tells Wakes, she's like, I mean, thank you so much, Vincent. I mean, it's, with your record, it's great to learn off of you and all this stuff. And he's like, I'm Detective Wakes. He's Vincent. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not assigned to you. I'm assigned to him as his trainee. So this is the reveal that, she is actually assigned to Vincent, the unorthodox detective who's, a little bit
crazy, a little bit mean, but he gets the job done. Damn it!
Yeah, and he's a little childish.
So she's Ahsoka, right?
Yeah, she's Ahsoka.
Wakes is Obi-Wan.
That's the relationship I set up here.
All right, cool. I just wanted to double check, because if this was accidental, I was going to make fun of you for it.
No, that was I have it written in my notes here, Ahsoka. So,
okay.
If you don't know what we're talking about, Star Wars: The Clone Wars TV show.
Get on it, nerds.
Anyway,
it's pretty good.
So that's the pilot. That's where we get introduced to all the characters. That's where we learn about this, May actually being Vincent's trainee rather than Wakes. And so now throughout the show, we have this sort of relationship developing. It's mainly targeted at Vincent and May's, growth and learning, and Vincent will become more responsible, and May learns more. But Wakes is always there, being like the older brother or father figure to both of them. Trying to, make sure they both don't do crazy stuff, but they kind of do. So some of the assassinations that I have in mind, and other murder plots that I have in mind. Of course, we're going to do who actually killed JFK. That's that has to happen.
That's a classic.
You can't not do that.
Historical mystery. Yeah, and it's going to be like someone insane. It'll be like fucking Elvis Presley. Like something ridiculous, of course.
Yeah, I was actually thinking it would just be the real killer's, the real guy's brother. It's like twin brother. So like it's
D. Harvey Oswald.
D. Harvey Oswald. Yes, it's like that. I think that would be ridiculous.
He was the second shooter.
Yeah, he was the real second shooter. It was a twin the whole time. That's that explains all the discrepancies.
Oh my god, that would be crazy. That would be a really fun reveal.
I was gonna do.
It is good that we can laugh at JFK getting assassinated now, because it's been long enough. It's been 70 years or something like that. 60 years, something.
Oh, it's not really.
We can laugh about it.
It's not really laughing. Anyway.
We can laugh about it.
Okay. We'll do Jimmy Hoffa. I don't know if you've seen The Irishman, but, of course we got to find out what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. In The Irishman, they make it down to, like, the mafia killed him. But, that's the mafia killing him was like, okay, but, like, what if it was aliens? That's
something crazy.
That would be
Jimmy
Hoffa.
Exciting. Like he became a vampire, and like he is one of the undead, and he's leading a vampire coven, in France or whatever. That something like that. Hitler. I think you got to do Hitler.
No, Hitler shot himself. I'm doing people that we're not really sure how they died or who killed them.
Yeah, but
we know
people
JFK
think Hitler
died.
lived.
No, they.
Yeah, we do know JFK died.
I'm not doing Hitler.
All right, you don't want to do Hitler. You don't have to do Hitler. No one's gonna make you do Hitler.
Franz Ferdinand. So we obviously know that it was Gavrilo Princip, but now here's the thing with that one. I either want to go into the truth of it, which was like that it was this crazy organization that was essentially controlling Siberia. Well, the Black Hand is both real and fake at the same time. They like made up most of their rituals and stuff just to convince people to join them so that they could like convince them to shoot certain politicians and stuff, like just to get impressionable young men to think that they're joining like this ancient society. But in reality it was like this sort of like shadow government within the Serbian, this like shadow nationalist organization within the Serbian government that wasn't like it wasn't the Serbian government, but it was like the Serbian government was both trying to stop it and also not trying too hard to stop it.
Yeah. Like it's like Freemasons, right? Like the Freemasons weren't the US government, but everyone in the Freemasons were made up of people in the US government.
Yeah.
Right?
That, or I could make it the French's fault. And I think it's fun to make the World War.
We love pissing off the French.
Fault. So, do that. I also have Sigbert the First. Yeah, I know you're a big Sigbert the First fan, so clearly you know
biggest
all about
fan. I got a poster of him right there. His death.
If you want to enlighten us. No, okay. I'll explain it. So Sigbert the First was a Merovingian king of France, who was stabbed in a war camp by a boy with a poisoned blade. I can do the real story. Well, what's assumed to be the real story for this, because not many people probably know this, but we'll eventually get to. It was probably Fredegund and Chilperic. Chilperic is his brother. Fredegund is his brother's wife. Basically, Sigbert the First, king of this part of France. His brother had the other part of France. Their wives were kind of feuding because Fredegund.
What else do wives do in history stories?
Chilperic was married to Sigbert's wife's sister, so they, it's like, two brothers, two sisters. They married each other. The sisters in the same family, the brothers are in the same family.
Weird.
The one brother divorced his wife and sent her packing, and I think he sent her off to a covenant, or was it like what's the thing that
a nunnery?
Nunnery, yeah.
Get thee to a nunnery.
Yeah, he sends her off to a nunnery, and her sister was like not super happy about her sister being forced to a nunnery and divorced and stuff. Mm-hmm. So she's pissed off at the woman that seduced the king and kicked out the old wife.
Yeah.
And she convinced her husband to sort of like try to make demands of his brother, and his brother may or may not have sent a boy with a poison blade to stab him. Anyway, so that's that one. The next one I have is The Princes in the Tower. Do you know this story? You live in the UK right now, so you should know this.
I do.
You do?
Hell yeah. I know I do live in the UK. I don't know any stories.
So, you've seen... Well, if you've seen Shakespeare, maybe you've seen parts of this, but the deposed king, Richard V, who was a boy, and his brother, Prince Richard, were probably killed by the king that deposed Edward V, who was related to them. That's Richard III. And so this is like but it's kind of assumed that maybe it's like assumed that possibly he did, but also it's like denied. So we'll have to figure out an answer. Everyone, it's somewhat regarded by historians that he did it, but who actually did it is a question, and it's not entirely certain if they did die or if it's a good story.
They maybe escaped or went somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think I have heard that story. I just don't know it because you're the history buff. I'm just buff.
Yeah, super buff.
I'm not buff.
Next I
Jake's
have
the buff one and the
Germanicus. Germanicus was the grant. Well, he's not. He's related to Augustus Caesar, so the first emperor of the Roman Empire, and the second emperor was Tiberius, and he was supposed to be the guy that came in after Tiberius, and he's also the dad of Caligula. So he's the guy Caligula is the guy that's after Tiberius. So he's the dad of the third Roman Empire, adopted son of the second, and he was supposed to be Roman emperor, but he gets killed in Syria by witchcraft. So that's a fun one. The person that's going to ultimately be the reason for that is this friend of the Emperor Tiberius, who really fucking hated Germanicus's guts for a myriad of reasons, but none of them very convincing reasons. He basically just didn't like him because he just didn't like him. That was it.
He just didn't like him. Sometimes you meet people and you're like, you know what? Fuck this guy. I've done that. I thought myself, I've met people and thought, fuck this guy. I'm going to start a podcast with him so he has to edit it every week. That's right. And I'm going to break his couch. I'm a real prick.
You are, definitely. Another one I had was Jack the Ripper. We're going to find Jack the Ripper. It's going to be great.
Oh, good.
Classic.
Good. Classic Jack the Ripper. Very good.
We could also do some space murders and stuff, but those were the most of the historical ones that I wanted to do.
I do think the Yesterday Boys do need to be contained to the past, And I understand that they're in the universe, their past is the entirety of human existence. But I think it would kind of take it out of it would take me out of it if they were like, it's the year 2033, that sort of thing. I think they should be in the past.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
We could do some near present stuff for us, or present stuff. We could do present stuff, 2025 stuff.
9/11. The Yesterday Boys figure out who did 9/11.
Not doing that. That was a joke. No one take that seriously, please. That was
That's our Christmas special.
No, the Christmas special can be who killed Santa, and it was Tim Allen.
It was Tim Allen did it, and then he made that movie to cover it up. That was what happened.
Yeah. Yep. Up until that movie, Santa used to actually used to deliver gifts.
Come into everyone's house.
Tim Allen killed him.
Give us gifts.
Now just be Tim Allen. Tim Allen is the one that shows up at your house. Santa's dead, kids. It is Tim Allen that shows up at your house and drops off gifts.
Tim Allen.
Thank him.
So scary.
Thank him and watch his movies so he can keep affording to give you gifts.
Yeah, and if you see him kissing your mother underneath the mistletoe on Christmas night, do not engage. Call the police immediately.
Yeah. Call us.
Watch out for Tim Allen. Call us. We'll make a podcast about it. It'll be funny.
It will. It will be about as funny as we ever are, which is A limited amount.
Middling. Yeah. We could be funny sometimes. I really like that show, The Yesterday Boys.
Yesterday Boys. Or Yesterday's
I wish I could
Boys.
contribute.
I like both
Or
ideas.
Yesterday's Boys.
The Yesterday. I don't know.
Well,
they both sound good.
When you're making the thumbnail, you get to decide what it's inevitably
That's true.
called.
It'll be whatever I remember in that moment.
I wish I could contribute more to episode ideas, but I don't know history nearly as well as you. My only idea for an episode would be like, maybe Emperor Nero didn't actually burn down Rome, it was somebody else, you know? That was the only idea I had, but your ideas all sound more compelling because they're
It was
weird,
the Christians,
cool
like Emperor
history.
Nero claimed.
Exactly.
It was right all
It
along.
was Jesus Christ himself. Can we have an episode where the Yesterday Boys go and figure out that Judas actually didn't betray Jesus and was someone else?
Yeah, I don't think
There's
we should
Doubting
do
Thomas.
religious stuff because that'll just be really controversial. So maybe not. But
The Yesterday Boys meet Muhammad.
yeah, that's
That
not.
would
That's
be
not gonna
a
happen.
really
Not
bad
gonna
idea.
happen. I'm gonna have to cut a lot of this
Yeah,
out.
well, thank you all for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles Lung. With me has always been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. Thank you again, Jacob. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, we will be here next week with a brand new television series for you to imagine and enjoy. Goodbye.